to Economy News Special Series. I am Ainisha. Today we will discuss on how fiscal policy affected the economy of Malaysia and other Asian countries during financial crisis 1997. Before that, let us see what means by fiscal policy and how it works.
Assalamualaikum. Today we will discuss about what means by fiscal policy. We refer to the use of government spending and tax policies to influence macroeconomic conditions, including aggregate expenditure, employment, inflation, and economic growth. How this policy comes? Fiscal policy is largely based on the ideas of British economist John Maynard Keynes on 1883 to 1946, who argued that governments could stabilize by business cycle and regulate economic output by adjusting spending and tax policies. His theories were developed in response to Great Depression, which defied classical economics assumption that economic swings were self-correcting. So it is contra to what have been said by father of economics Adam Smith that said government should not involve in market system. What are the types of fiscal policy? There are two types of fiscal policy. First, expansionary. During recession, when government increase either their spending or decrease tax, or they will apply both. The second one is contractionary. We will use during inflation when government will reduce either their spending or increase their tax or apply both in the situations. So, how this fiscal policy is applied? For example, in United States, President Franklin D. Roosevelt used expansionary policy to end the Great Depression. At first, it worked. But then, FDR reduced New Deal spending to keep budget balance. That allowed the depression to reappear in 1932. Roosevelt returned to expansionary fiscal policy to gear up for World War II. That massive spending finally ended the Great Depressions. Secondly, the Obama administration used expansionary policy with the Economic Stimulus Act, the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, such as cut tax, extended unemployment benefit, and funded public works project. In 2010, Obama continued many of these benefits with the Obama tax cuts. He also increased defense spending. All this occurred while tax receipts dropped. Thanks to the 2008 financial crisis, that's why the national debt increased so much under Obama. For contractionary, we use the example of Japan. Japan's fiscal policy was expansionary only in 2013, the first year of Abe's tenure, and has become contractionary since then. The government continued to raise existing taxes and introduce new taxes, squeezing more and more money out of the economy at the cost of increased spending. For example, the Japanese government is now contemplating a new tax on leaving the country for everyone, both Japanese and foreigners. So, if one leaves Japan for a business or tourist trip, one has to pay 1,000 yen, about $9 upfront. Also worrying is the steady increase in social security burden. This has been a drag on Japan's corporations and households as well. It is no wonder that the Japanese people say they do not really feel the benefits of Abenomics despite the increase in their wages. So, while why fiscal policy is very important. First, the objective of fiscal policy is to create healthy economic growth. Ideally, the economy should grow between 2 to 3% a year. Unemployment will be at its natural rate of between 4.7 and 5.8%. Inflation will be at its target rate of 2%. The business cycle will be in the expansion phase.
Next, we have two Malaysian economists as speakers to discuss on how fiscal policy affect economy of Asian countries and Malaysia during financial crisis 1997. So, let us move to our host Raha. Raha, are you ready?
Assalamualaikum. Today, we have two economists that will discuss on how fiscal policy affect the economy of Malaysia and other Asian countries during financial crisis 1997. And today we have Dr. Hadira and Dr. Syahidaqayreen as our panelists. How are you doing?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
The Asian financial crisis of 1997 was a financial crisis that affected many Asian countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, South Korea, Indonesia and Singapore. To overcome the crisis, those countries has come up with fiscal policy to stabilize their currencies. My first question for both panelists is, from your point of view, how do you see this fiscal policy is important for the country?
In my opinion, the purpose of fiscal policy is to balance the effect of modified tax rates and public spending. For instance, the government may try and stimulate a slow-growing economy by increased spending. This increased spending is a result of lowered tax by the government. However, this lowering of tax rates may cause inflation to rise. This is due to the fact that the inflow of money in the system is high along with an increased consumer demand. These facts coupled together lead to a decrease in the value of money. This implies that more money is required to buy the same thing which was available for a lower price earlier. More inflow of money in the economy due to a lesser amount of taxes, the demand of consumers for goods as well as services increase. This leads to growth in the business and turns the nation economy. Slow growing to active. The fiscal policy needs to be closely monitored to ensure that the economy is productive and not infected by uncontrolled inflation.
In my point of view, the fiscal policy is indeed important to our country because it is one of the ways to solve the problems of inflation and recession. This can be seen as what had happened before, where the fiscal policy indeed helped us got out from the Great Recession when it hit our country during the late 90s.
My second question is for Dr. Syahidaqayreen. As we know, that Malaysia is one of the countries that successful to get out from this crisis. Why do you think this thing could happen?
Alhamdulillah, our country managed to got out from the Great Recession before. This was due to the brilliant action taken by our Prime Minister that time, was Dr. Mahathir. There was plenty of action taken by him during that time to solve this problem. And the first step taken by him during that time was the formation of National Economic Action Council, which was responsible to take overall charge in economic crisis management. And this council was also chaired by the Prime Minister himself. There was also other policy such as the reduction of interest rate, and during that time we also fixed our own interest rate, and there was a strict limitation on transfer fund abroad made by our local, and many more actually.
So, Dr. Hadira, on that time, Thailand was one of the countries that facing this problem worse than other countries. from fiscal perspective, why this could happen?
Okay, for on that time, Thailand the government was running such large surplus that it was actually starving the economy of much needed investment in education and infrastructure. Both is the essential to the economic growth of the country. Then, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) stepped in to initiate a $40 billion program to stabilize the currencies of some Asian countries. The Malaysian government hopes to save important companies which it believes are fundamentally sound but have been undermined by what it feels is an unjustified fall in share price and the exchange rate. Malaysia imposed capital controls in an effort to eliminate speculative trading in its currency. While the IMF mocked this approach when adopted, the fund later admitted that this thing is succeed. Malaysia generally suffered less severe economic problems than the other countries embroiled in the Asian financial.
Last but not least, this question directed to both panels on why Singapore, as successful countries, still cannot get out of this problem.
This is because, as we all know, Singapore is an open economy. So, the application of their discretionary fiscal policy is more limited because the linkage of imports. This is because, as we all know, Singapore is an open economy. So the application of their discretionary fiscal policy on macroeconomic stabilization is more limited due to the linkages of imports. Besides, their fiscal transfer on aggregate demand is not that effective because a portion of injections into households and businesses are actually kept as savings.
Yes, I also agree with Dr. Opinion. Singapore has also been hurt by the downturn in the region, but less badly than their neighbours. Like Hong Kong, they do not have excessive foreign borrowing or unsound banks. But whereas Hong Kong's problem is caused by its high exchange rate, Singapore's is caused by their close interdependence, their neighbours, with the other economies of Southeast Asia countries which are in difficulty. Because of their economy is so small and open, like Dr. said before, the drastic changes in external economic conditions have immediately affected Singapore.
Wow, there's such an amazing explanation by both panels. That's all for today. We're back to Anisha.
Last but not least, we will also discuss fiscal policy in Islamic perspective.
Assalamualaikum. We meet again. This time, I will share to you the Islamic perspective of fiscal policy. The Quran talks about justice in fiscal policy. There are a number of verses in Quran which indicate the needs for establishing economic justice in the society. For example, in the verse 59:7, whatever booty God gave to his apostle from the people of the cities is for God and his apostle, for near relations, the orphans, the needy, and the welfarers, so that it does not concentrate in the hands of those who are rich among you. The verse states a general principle of the fiscal policy of an Islamic economy. We come across another, though oblique reference to justice in fiscal policy in verse 458, which says, God enjoins that you render to the owners what is held in trust with you, and that when you judge among the people, do the equitably. This verse speaks of rendering back to the owners what is held in trust on their behalf. The state is a trustee of people, resources, and the above injunction applicable to fiscal decision of the state. It implies that the state should adopt such policies which render back the resources to the general principle. Also reiterates the needs for a fair distribution of income and wealth.
That's all from us today. Thank you for watching. Bye!